Is it working? Hello? Is it on? Good evening, all. Welcome back. We've been away for a week, hence the welcome back thing. Good evening to Timble, to Del Kenobi, Ray Louderbeck, Space Saga, Rusty Pigeon, Notorious. Good to see you here, and everyone else that's in that hasn't said hi or is just lurking or whatever. So yeah, good to see you all. Good to be back after a week of visiting family and doing all that very important stuff. Uh, and a not a great drive back up. Lots of people just kind of randomly driving into things that they shouldn't. Not me, thankfully. But yeah, it all warranted a stop off at a place called Entoyment in Poole in the UK, which is full of all kind of like tabletop games and RPG games, card games, all that sort of stuff. They just moved to a big premises. So that was fun to go and have a walk around and see what that place was like. So yeah, back now, back into the swing of things, hopefully. And, we've got a little bit to talk about because there's stuff been happening whilst I've been away. Not huge amounts, but enough to keep us going. Hello, Edison, to Truther as well, to Avi. Good to see you all. And I'm really hoping that you guys have had a good week as well without me. A bit of a break. It does us all good, I think. Probably you guys more than me. But yes, so that's it. That's where we are now. Probably a good thing that I wasn't streaming last weekend because it was a fucker of a week the week before. Excuse my language. And yeah, I, I'll tell you about it in Discord. It's not the sort of thing that I can say where it's recorded. But yes. So, yeah, a couple of things that's happened. A few things that we're going to have a look at in the stream. We're going to have a look at the knock-on effects of the Idris sales that have been happening over the weekend and what that's done to the financials. We're going to have a look at the roadmap roundup and 4.3.1 shaping up to be, in my opinion, not a bad patch at all. We're going to have a look at, as always happens, games media making shit up. Because it always happens, right? Why report the truth when making something up is just as fun? So yes, socially, good evening, good to see you. So yeah, we'll start with the roadmap roundup and all that sort of stuff, and then we'll move into the media nonsense, and then hopefully we'll go and do some Onyx stuff, which I was hoping to do last stream, but of course we had the problems. Solved it, switched the router on and off, fixed the whole bandwidth thing. So we're good. It wasn't anything more serious, which is pleasing. Hello, Charlie. Not too late at all, mate. So yeah, we'll come to that in a second, socially. So first off, and the good news here is I've actually had a look at some of the scenes that I've been having problems with. So that little small screen grab one that didn't work last time because it didn't have what's on the screen. Ta-da! Fixed it. Woohoo! Go me, right? Pro streamer. Anyway, best job I ever had. Right, so let's have a look at the roadmap roundup. Unsurprisingly, the first change was the adding the stuff for updates to light fighters. I don't know. I don't fly many light fighters at all at the moment, so... But it does say all the 4.3.0 cards have been set to released. So that's where we are. 4.3.1, we've got the Apollos, both versions coming out. Some big changes there, which have been covered. But I will just kind of gloss over them a little bit so that we're all on the same page. Some laser cannon art refactors, so it's the way it looks, not the way it operates. And then updates to Onyx Facilities, to the AI FPS turrets, or the addition of AI FPS turrets, and mission pickup on location. And those last 2 points, the mission pickup and the AI FPS turrets, were both supposed to be added in 4.3.0, were removed. Impressed that they've come back as quickly as they are. So yeah, so AI FPS turrets, it says adding anti-personnel turrets for players to avoid or destroy, providing additional PvE challenges. Sorry, you probably can't see that, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. So it's that one that we're looking at. Mission pickup on location. It's the idea that now, rather than picking everything up through the Moby Glass in the wells, that you can pick up missions as you move into certain areas. Now, What that area is, we don't know, but I would imagine a lot of that has got to do with this. So they're adding the science wing to Onyx. And it says, Arkham Malor invites players back to the network of abandoned research sites scattered across the Stanton system, hidden on nearly every moon. Though light security still lingers, the facilities have long since been abandoned by Associated Science and Development. At their deepest point lies Dr. Yorit's lab, where the darkest revelations await. So, interestingly, it does seem to be that these were not necessarily the cooperative zones we were expecting. That they're a separate wing, and maybe they become cooperative zones, but it seems here, though light security still lingers, it seems like this might not be the cooperative zones. It certainly doesn't say it explicitly that it is. Soriak, hello, buddy. Welcome in. So yeah, some interesting bits. And if you are a bit of a fan of the Apollo, there is good news and bad news. The good news, of course, is that they are getting all of the modules. If you own the Apollo through any means at any point, you will get all of the modules for free. So unlike the, kind of the Retaliator where you have some modules and then other modules you need to buy, you get all of the tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 modules, and by that I mean tier 1 right and left, tier 2 right and left, tier 3 right and left. That's all coming. The downside is not only are drones not coming with this, there is now a large question mark over whether drones will feature on the Apollo series at all. Which for me raises a very, very interesting question as to whether or not I still want the medevac. Because that was the point, right? The medevac was to go out immediately after combat to go and rescue down pilots that are ejected in space, and the drones were to enable that. And basically what they said was when they first put the medevac out with its drone capability, there was a difference in the way they perceived medical gameplay to be. Since then, there have obviously been the changes that we've seen. There are very recent changes about who can respawn and heal and all that sort of stuff, and which ships have which beds within the last couple of weeks. Part of those changes, or some of the changes that came before that, seem to indicate now that they're not sure whether drones will ever play a medical role in Star Citizen. However, the one saving grace, if drones do end up playing a medical role in Star Citizen, then what will happen is that there is the space in the medevac for the drone suite. It's capable, so if drones do come in a medical capacity, the medevac will be retrofitted with them. Which is probably, to be honest, the only reason I haven't already looked at options for that CCU chain. And if you want to, we can go and have a look at that later. I know some of you are more intimately familiar with my CCU chains than others, because some of you helped me build them in various ways, but that's that. Soriak says, this makes me fear that drones are in jeopardy on any ship and in the game at all. So, here's what they said. At the moment, drones are only being developed in the capacity of building, base building. Okay, so the idea is that they start with a handcart, then it goes up to the CSV-FM, the fabrication module, or mode mark, whatever you want to call it. Then it goes up to the Starlancer build, and then it goes up to the Pioneer. And each one will carry a set of drones. They answered the question, if I take my build down and start the drones building and leave supplies, but take the build away, will they keep building? The answer was, yes, they will keep building, but once they're out of fuel, they will be spent like a missile would be spent, or like a torpedo would be spent. So you would then need to get new drones for your ship. If it's still there, in theory, they can go back and recharge or refuel, whatever it will be, from the build, the drone console, or whatever. So there will be drones in some capacity. And I'm hoping, looking at the way the drones worked in that base building, I'm really, really hoping that we will see some form of UAV scouting drone that can be controlled by players. Because that interface, that base building interface, watching stuff happening in real time, just is built for it, right? As long as that drone's visible to players, you know, at certain heights and, you know, isn't kind of immune or whatever, if a well-placed sniper shot could take it down, like in real life, then I see no problem. They're not going to be massively overpowered, especially not if they kind of increase EM signature, or you can maybe intercept the signal between the drone and the drone control unit. There's all sorts of things that they can do, but I think they're starting small, and maybe they're concerned about people abusing the system, because we're good at doing that. So I'm hoping. Repair drones would be very useful for turrets. Yeah, I think when you look at things like the Vulcan, they have repair, rearm, refuel drones, right? That seems to be what they were going for. Do they still have it now? Is that still the intent? Very good question. Not sure. Don't know. I really don't know. I'm hoping so, but, you know, my track record on that sort of stuff isn't very good, right? I was hoping that Engineer would be much more tactile, that we would be finding those circuit boards that they had in the demo, where you went and found the down satellite and you pulled the circuit boards out and you were looking for, you know, is this the right model, and, you know, all that very tactile, and then, you know, pulling circuit boards out and then going to wherever your spares are on board, grabbing a new one and slotting it back in. Obviously what we got was Beam Citizen. So what I hope and what gets delivered, as I'm sure you guys will all appreciate as well, are not always the same thing. So that. What we did see, however, is this. So this was the sneak peek that came out with a newsletter. And it seems to be there. I don't know if you can see that. This is a sliding door, in effect. What you're seeing here is, hopefully you can see my cursor, yes. So here is the med bed. There's the head of it, laying down there, so it's on a bit of an angle. There appears to be a console over here, another door this way, and then obviously kind of a step up here. So that looks to me like that's a tier 1, right? And that's not just because it says Medbay 01, it's because there's supposed to be beds. Unless there's a mirror configuration on the other side, which could be. Don't know. We'll see. Scott Gust, hello. Shady Face, hello. Shady Face says, I feel the drones that people are more concerned about are the drones players would be controlling, not drones that get programmed to do something and fly off on their own. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've not seen much in the way of concern from players about it. I think it's more of a case of probably CIG are going, well, all the things we give them, they managed to break, abuse, or use in ways that we hadn't foreseen. Our drone's going to be part of that, right? But don't know. As for this, I don't know. It's just a shame that, you know, the medevac was sold. My question now, I guess, is apart from a little bit of armor and some missiles, what's the difference between a medevac and a triage? I'm not sure what the key difference between the two of them is. Right, excuse me, I've already been talking so much that my mouth's got dry. Hey, Rusty Pigeon, good to see you. So yes, lots of questions again. As normal, we have questions without answers. I'm hoping that when the Apollo comes out, the QA or, you know, whatever will kind of force more questions from CIG and be like, guys, what do you have in mind with this? And maybe we'll get some answers then. Your guess is as good as mine. It might be that we've got the only answer that we're going to get at the moment, which is drones at the moment are only being developed with base building, and they don't have the answers as to what's happening after that. I'd rather the base Apollo had no guns or replace the turret with a PDC and more speed. Scott Gus says it's armor. The medevac is designed for military extraction, where triage is more civilian. Yeah, my issue with it's only the missile, a couple of missiles and some armor, is that's a lot of money when the functionality was drone base. So, yeah. And I know, that we're all told that when they sell it, that you everything isn't final. There's options for things to change, and I get it, but still, yeah. We'll see, we'll see. So, both of them are available. Both of them have been available regularly. I've got a CCU chain up to the medevac. So, yeah. General course with the triage is faster and less armor. Yeah, absolutely. It just doesn't seem to justify the price difference between the triage and the medevac anymore, because that existed before. They've removed a massive piece of functionality to then say, well, it's like, well, no, that doesn't work. It's like, if it's just a little bit of speed. I'm afraid construction drones are just consumable animations, the equivalent of sprites in many games, not pilotable drones. Hence my concern about the Vulcan, Carrack, and Reclaimer, for example. Socially says there doesn't need to be a second variant. But because here's the thing, right? With the military search and rescue stuff, you don't send them into hot environments, right? Not like for like, right? Because people go, oh, you get medevac choppers all the time. Yes, against people on the ground, right? If the opposing side had fighters up, that helo ain't going anywhere, right? Because it's just an easy target, right? And the thing is, military Kazovacs don't operate under the same rules as, say, a Red Cross ambulance, right? Military Kazovacs are still combatants, even if they're flying the Red Cross, right? They're still legitimate targets. That's why there's no outcry when people put an RPG through the side of an evac halo in Afghan or whatever else. So there's that. So yeah. Even before the drone change, it wasn't needed. I chose the charge because of the paint job. Nice. Hello, Jock Cop. Good to see you. Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, there is a little bit of that. AV had a few people asking why they added pilot guns rather than PDCs on the Apollos. Def seemed weird. Yeah, that. And again, they talk about making things for the game as it is now. Maybe that's the intent, because obviously they've just done a big shift with a lot of players going across to, or a lot of guns going across to player-controlled, pilot-controlled weapons. Maybe that's the intent at the moment, and maybe they will become PDCs. I don't know. But at the moment, we can only go on the information we've got, which is the Apollo has pilot-controlled weapons. So, yeah. Size 4s won't need it. No, they really won't. I don't know, but maybe we're going to see a difference in the two of how many regens they can do. This wasn't a concern before, now it could be a big difference. Charlie, it's a really good point. It's a really good point. Maybe that's what it is. It's the capability and stuff. Shadow Girl, good evening. Imagine if players respected the whole Red Cross aspect of the game. Yeah, yeah. I've just got that image of the meme with the dude with the noose over his head going, first time. It just feels like that's not what the internet's about at all. It's just like, oh, I'm not supposed to shoot it. Oh, oops. We're forgetting the most important thing. Does the Apollo have wee-woo lights? If it doesn't have wee-woo lights, Shady Phase, I vote we all riot. Just saying. I was on Captain's table as a phoning guest yesterday. Good fun. You should do something similar. I did have a look. So his next schedule isn't up, but I'm going to go and spend some time with Paul on Captain's table. It should be good fun. But yes, trying to catch up with the videos and stuff. The bad news is the week before last, I was down hard with a virus, so I couldn't control my body temperature. So I went from sitting here in like a duvet, looking like some misplaced Eskimo, to, oh God, having 2 desk fans, and you don't want to know what I was or wasn't wearing. All I'm going to say is, wasn't a lot. There you go. I'm going to watch the view account go now. But yes, right, so I haven't been able to get the videos out, so I figure go and see those guys and seeing if they're around, but yes, we'll see. Imagine if players let me stop you right there. Oh no, well, I'm glad you're better now. Thank you very much. Shall I go? Yeah. It was a rough week. I did go into work on the Thursday for a very important meeting. Um, I don't have the words to describe. I don't have the words. I don't think they exist. I'm pretty good with you know linguistics and having a large vocabulary should I decide to employ it and not just swear at you all the time. That meeting was oh, I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, if you guys are around in Discord, I'll tell you a little bit about it. But I'm certainly not doing it on YouTube. I'll get fired. So yes. So don't assume what I want, says Jock Cop. Yeah, absolutely. Malcolm Den, hello, buddy. Welcome in from the Stanton Logistics Security Federation. Is that about right? Did I get that right, Malcolm? Did I just massively embarrass myself? But welcome in regardless. Good to see you, my friend. Odd time. Don't normally see you on the stream. Is this an odd time for you to be awake, or we just caught you at the right moment? Anyway, so that's. I always do that the wrong way around. Let's do it that way instead. The Apollo. Ta-da! That's what it looks like. Okay, so moving swiftly on then. So funding, unsurprisingly, let's just give that a bit of a refresh. So in terms of day, we've just broken 860 mil, and we've had quite well. I mean, week-wise, we won't get until tomorrow, but just over days, we've had. I mean, the roughest day looked to be. Is that Monday? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I had to do that. It's Tuesday. Roughest day was Tuesday. I know days. But yeah, to have kind of half a mil, almost, 3/4 of a mil days is kind of crazy. So funding, again, gone through the roof. This has been obviously fed by the limited sale of the Idris, which was excluded from the Ship Showdown because they didn't want to do a free flight where everyone could get hold of an Idris. Because that would have busted the game. I mean, the smoke coming from the Amazon Web Services warehouse would have just been, crazy. I meant do your own call show, mate. I think you mentioned thinking about it. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, yeah, maybe later on. So, yeah. Do you know what? Should we do it now? Should we talk about it now? Let's talk about it now. Streaming. I've got a question for you. I would be more inclined, so this is a statement I'm going to make and you're going to finish it, to watch a stream on ... Okay. So I'm going to put the poll out there. Okay, what I'm thinking is a really cool way to bust into the streaming, as in on either Twitch or alternative platforms. Right, the reason I say this is because I think it would be really cool when the Perseus makes it out to make that our inaugural stream. So where we all get as many Perseus as we can, Persei as we can, and go and screw things over. That would be a really cool way to break into the live stream to the proper, just past this and actually go into that. So YouTube as well. So the idea will be multi-stream. So I'm not leaving YouTube. Everything will still be here. I'll still do the Sunday streams. What I might do is add a day or so of streaming elsewhere, because it's a very different experience streaming on those platforms, right? To be able to interact and have different things appear. If I'm reacting to that, you're sat there on YouTube going, what is he talking about? Okay. So here's my issue. Okay, so Twitch, vastly popular platform. I don't like it. And here's why, right? I'm happy to watch it but there has been something going on recently, and without getting into all of the whys and wherefores and what my stance on it are, here is basically what has happened. Twitch only seems to choose to enforce its rules on certain people. and it's all about their political stance. Okay, so this is the problem, and the reason why this hits close to my heart is, if you guys are aware, obviously me being ex-Navy, the Royal Navy has spent significant time this year, as has the US Navy and other NATO countries, in the Red Sea, dealing with the Yemeni, the Houthis, basically shooting drones at civilian shipping, right? Using drones to attack civilian shipping, which they believe, although it's not always been the case, are going to help Israel, right? The problem is, to then show support for one of these people and say you love them and they're great and what they're doing is superb, and that you support them, quote unquote, 10 toes down, whatever the fuck that means, right? I don't know. I'm not down with the kids anymore, right? I'm too old for this shit, right? For that to be fine, because that person is of the same political persuasion as the people who run Twitch. Yet for other people to get banned for very, very little, that strikes close to home for me, right? That's like, I don't want to be part of this. I don't want to go into business with those people. So that's my issue, right? I'm not making an issue of anyone who does. This is a personal choice for me. Anyone who does stream on Twitch, fine, up to you. Entirely up to you. I make no judgment. But if people are going to, I mean, they might not, right? But if people decide to sub and give money, and I'm knowingly sharing that with people whose political views I massively disagree with, tell me how that isn't me selling out. Just for the sake of a bit of money. Sorry, I'll kill the music. Sorry, it was dramatic because I'm getting all political, right? So there's that, right? And Shadow Girl's right. Is hopefully Twitch will learn from this. There'll be the backlash. I know, kind of, even like this is the huge end of Twitch, right? It's the biggest streamers, political end of streamer like Asmongold has picked this up, right? And they're all running with it. They're all talking about it and that sort of stuff. So hopefully something happens and it stops. But you see what I mean? I don't, because again, you can't put a price on living with yourselves. And if it's a platform, now I know people will say, well, hang on, like Twitch and all that sort of stuff, or sorry, Kick has a lot of very iffy content on it. Yes, it does. Yes, it really effing does. But it's not about the content so much as it is about them applying the rules. Right? If you apply the rules consistently, I'm happier. Okay? It's that. It's. I'm not going down that that road, like, not at all. I'm not going down. I'm not going down that path. I'm not picking that. Not publicly, not on this. This is not the platform for that. This is fun and gaming. The only reason I say that is because as gamers we have this moral code about not selling out and not doing things that you disagree with fundamentally just because it will get you money. And then I've just got to point at Twitch and go, that's what would be happening. And I want to be honest with you guys, and you know, and that's it. And maybe if it might be the case that you guys go, well, I'm not comfortable with Kick because of the content, and that's a perfectly valid decision. At which point I'll go, well, that's great. I'm not comfortable streaming on Twitch, so we stick with YouTube. The good news is we'll stick with YouTube anyway. So if you're here, it really doesn't matter. Yes, I just want to play video games. Exactly that. Doesn't Twitch also have questionable content too? Something hot tubs. Don't have a go at the hot tub. I like the hot tub streams. Sorry, you didn't need to see that, but now you have. So there. No Twitch or Kick, just YouTube, says Stimpack. Yeah, the thing about this is, obviously, we're going too far down that, and you guys didn't come here to hear the troubles of one guy dealing with what he's going to do next and where he's going to take the channel. But we'll see. I didn't mean I mean I don't have any problem with Kick, so to speak. I just don't really know anything about them, used them before. Exactly that. And maybe if Twitch can pull it around, maybe I give it a couple of months and see if Twitch can sort itself out. Because it does seem to have the better the interface, the larger audience, the more plugins and all that sort of stuff to make stuff fun. But it might be that I do these more kind of, for want of a better word, adult kind of streams on a Sunday, and maybe I do some more gameplay oriented stuff on Twitch or Kick, whatever. But yeah, well, thank you very much for responding to that and listening to me dribble on about that for far too long, because a little while ago someone said, bear with me a second, if you want me to get rid of me use Kick, you can be sure that I won't be touching this disgusting thing with a 10-foot pole. Wow. Hey Janos, good to see you, buddy. We are just looking at the money that the Idris has rolled in. Someone has just popped up with, they said about how much money they've broken through 86 mil or something this year. Yeah, Jockcop said there are 86 mil this year so far. Last year it took them to November to do that. So, spoilers, this is where we are next. So, we are, as we said, 86 mil, and funnily enough, that's exactly where we are in November. So we are, if things carry on, and obviously with IEE, with the Perseus, the Ironclad, and everything else coming out, there is a significant chance that they are going to have a bumper IEE as well. They've been talking about other ships that aren't coming, or sorry, that we don't know about that are coming, stuff that's in the works that we don't know of. So there could be some really niche or really nice surprise ships in that. I think they are going to finish a serious way over above, you know, where where we've been. While it starts sweating nervously, says Amy. Exactly that. I need a stream of Badger seductively rubbing his cursor over the Idris purchase button. I mean, Charlie McCawsome says, I'll try anything until it pisses me off. Do whatever you think works. Why have I just got in my head? I've just got that, do you want to hear the most annoying noise in the world? Oh dear. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So yeah, this year there was negative pressure because CIG made like 3% lower than last year at the start of the year. Apparently, they were dying. Yeah, right. It was all over for CIG. Do we all remember that? How CIG was doomed at the beginning of the year? Yeah. So doing really rather well, and I don't know how often this is updated, although it looks to be fairly recently because we're only about a mil behind there. So yeah, we're doing pretty well. Rusty Pigeon says, without concept sales, will we say goodbye to the CCU game? There is a lack of good matching CCUs. So there's just not a concept sale this year. It doesn't indicate the end of CCUs, the end of concept sales, although they are, I think, trying to move away from that somewhat. They've said this is the first year ever that we won't have a concept sale, which was interesting. But you know, there may well be concepts in the future. Will we say goodbye to the CCU game? I think the CCU game is slowly there's still savings to be had with the CCU game, but it won't look like what it has done before, right? This idea of the $200 Polaris or Perseus or whatever it is, right? That sort of stuff, not so much, right? That sort of stuff isn't going to happen anywhere near as regularly. And, you know, we've had it good for a long old time. I can't think of any other kind of company that will regularly let its goods go for less than 25%. Yes, you had to pick up certain CCUs, but they're obviously cutting that out. I don't think it's going to die out entirely, because there's still money to be saved for us. And, you know, upgrading $40 to a ship is much better than spending $400 to do it, right? There are going to be people out there who have bought CCUs to stuff purely because they cannot afford an outright purchase, or they can't justify as well, an outright purchase. It's not just about how much money you've got, it's how much money you want to dedicate. And to say to someone, look, hey, this CCU is normally $50, it's a war bond now, so it's $40. Yes, to a lot of people go, well, I remember when there were better savings, and we're right. But that doesn't mean that other people aren't going to seize that opportunity. So yeah, I think the CCU game will continue. I don't see it ever going away. I can't see how they're going to fund the game into the future without continued ship sales. And I think what we'll see is very much what we'll see now. We'll see ship sales, they come out into the game, and then 3 to 6 months later, they are then, for everyone who hasn't pledged, they will then be in sale in store, in-game stores. So pledging will get you a ship up to 6 months earlier than everyone else. I think that's the only way. Rather than going to a subscription model, put my false teeth back in, I can see people going that way. Yeah. It's a bit of an interesting one. So, Think Sergio wants to do away with concepts because people were getting stupid savings with CCU chains, concepts, and stuff. So, I mean, Saga's got it right. There's definitely one concept sale left to go, and they said that. They said that in the last video they did. The battle cruiser. I think the escort cruiser, the escort carrier will also have one, and the cruiser will also have one. Interestingly, we know what the cruiser likes. You just don't know it yet. Looks like, rather. You just don't know it yet. The battle cruiser, I've started scripting a video on the battle cruiser from a naval perspective. So taking real world, World War II military knowledge of the battle cruisers, that sort of stuff. Obviously, I wasn't there at the time. I'm not that old, but taking what we know about the development of it and talking about what that might look in a battle cruiser in Star Citizen. So that might be this. That probably won't be this week. It'll likely be as incoming. It'll likely be next week, but we'll talk about the battle cruiser. So looking forward to doing that. So yeah. That is going to be a CCU, I think. Can't CCU to ships above to $1,000 or more, so it ain't going to be a CCU, unfortunately. CCU's got me way more than I have intended to get, says AV, and spend more than I have intended, but I'm pretty happy with what I have and what I've got. Good. And that's it, right? CCUing got me my dream ships. Sad that others won't get those savings. It is, but there are still savings to be had, so, you know, at the end of the day, it's never going to be those savings. But as we've always said, and has been said since the beginning, always earn it in game. And that's the bit I think people miss. So you can always earn it in game. That's why I don't own an F8 Lightning. I'm going to earn it through Squadron, and I'm going to buy it in game. Something to build up to. Will you be at the Bar Citizen at Leicester Space Centre this year for the watch party, says Janos. I won't be. However, that does not mean that we won't be doing something. Daily Noob from Australia will be in the UK over CitizenCon, and he will be here with me at Shez Badges to do a joint stream. So really, really looking forward to that. We're going to do some barbecue stuff out back before it all kicks off. So yeah, it's only 2 hours. I'd read it and then forgot about it, and then we were talking about it again. It's only 2 hours, so what's gonna be good about that is that we can have a drinking game up. And we can do a proper drinking game, because if it's a lot of drinking over 2 hours, we'll manage. And then he's sleeping on the sofa here, so looking forward to that. That'll be good. Gonna go pick him up from the airport earlier on in the day, take him around, do some touristy stuff, and then we're gonna get set up here for the channel stuff. So looking forward to that. It's gonna be good. The Wolf, that's a buying game for me, says Shadow Girl. It looks beautiful. Yeah, very pretty ship. What skin would you put on it? If you could put any skin on it, Shadow Girl, what would you go for? So yeah, Bismarck, battleship. Bismarck was a battleship. During kind of like from 1936 onwards, from the time of the first London Naval Treaty, stuff you never knew you were going to know, and stuff you'll never need to know again. But the lines between battle cruisers and battleships blurred to the point where battle cruisers ceased to be a thing. So Bismarck strictly was a battleship battlecruiser, because the whole idea was battle cruisers were faster than battleships, but much more lightly armoured. And then, of course, as you got up to things like Battleship and Rodney and Hood and that sort of stuff, the battleships were just as heavily armed, just as heavily armoured, and then as fast as, or almost as fast as cruisers. So the battlecruiser distinction basically disappeared. And that's what's going to come out of the video. But yes, pocket battleship, like the Graf Spey. Yeah, not that. So not those. It's battlecruisers bigger. And that's quite exciting. So yeah, where's that mythical Anvil capship CIG? Better be the new battlecruiser, Shady Face. Wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that be cool? Concept sales really have saved a lot of money. I would not otherwise have been able to easily afford some of the ships, says Manny. Yeah, and good evening, Manny. Well, good to see you. Do you know what? Yes. If you look at the Banu Merchantman, for example, now compared to where it was, I don't think they're going to make that mistake again. We've had the whole metrics thing come in and them rescoping the size of ships and realising that Banu Merchantman was a big old bad boy. Yeah, I think they've kind of gone, oh. Concierge paint for the Wolf is great, says Socially. I must insist on beams being on the bingo card because Space Selga wants to see me die. I think Scarlet Red, but actually I like the bare metal silver look on it. Why was that so hard? Yes, I agree. Bare metal looks really good. I love telling people the fact that battlecruisers were a failed experiment. Jutland showed that. So interestingly, Jotcop, here's the question for you. Were they a failed experiment, or were they an experiment used inappropriately? Because an experiment is only good as the design parameters and the way it's implemented, right? There you go. Answers on a postcard. Thanks for the battleship info. You're very welcome, Rusty. Just a wealth of useless information. Like orangutan in its native tongue means "oh man of the woods." There you go. You didn't know that. Now you do. Maybe you did, but if you didn't, you do now. I feel like I've had a little bit too much caffeine this evening. Maybe I should stop. Then again, maybe I shouldn't. Drake battlecruiser. Isn't that just like lots of big Drake ships bolted together? Is that what that is? With like someone cutting a hatch through from one into the other? Is that not? No? Is that what that? I still want to see a 725i corporate battleship with champagne flute holders at the turret stations. Yes, like well, I suppose the Drake version would be like a camelback full of, I don't know, Prosecco. I'm looking forward to what paint skins we're going to get for our Perseus. Yeah, so as Edison will tell you, because he's the one that secured it for me, I've got the Thundercloud paint for the Perseus, which just, it's beautiful. It's right. So let's go and do some of them dramas, shall we? Should we do some dramas? Let's do some dramas. That'll be fun. Okay, so right, before we go on to the dramas, let's do the battleship stuff. So, good question. You could argue British gunnery, bad comms, and BT's general uselessness was the main factors. Yeah, and also not wanting to, you know, despite the fact they had the enemy in sight, not engaging because the senior officer in front hadn't engaged is a bit weird. Yeah, I just want to know how many orgs we'll need to combine to crew it. I mean, what's the min going to be? 30 to 50 people. Battlecruisers is going to be insane, man. They're going to be insane. Plus, they need to get org ownership in before selling it. Thousands of dollars in one ship, and they didn't log in on the day that we get old real fast. Do you know what? I wouldn't mind betting, if we trolled Spectrum for posts about battlecruisers, I wouldn't mind betting there's already one that says something along the lines of, can we solo them? Yeah. Drake version is beer hats. Note like that. Yeah. Kraken with 4 Nova tonks welded to the flight deck. Welded? Blue tack, mate. Yeah. So that's that. Need those tiger stripes and shark teeth on the Perseus. Sure. Drake could be cracking one out the flight deck and use out a bunch of guns, and it would be a lot closer and more. The Drake Leviathan. Our scientists were so preoccupied by whether they should or whether they could, they didn't stop to ask themselves whether they should. We can solo anything for a bit. I mean, you can probably fly it from A to B. As long as you don't lose the ignition keys, of course. Right. This nonsense. I know it's my fault for seeing IGN headlines pop up. In my defense, it was in Facebook. I'm not subbed to them. I'm also a little bit confused as to what this thing is over here. But let's ignore the hell out of that. So, after raising $1 billion from players, Star Citizen dev Chris Roberts hosts Squadron 42 2026 launch will be almost as big an event as GTA 6. Do you know what? The only sensible thing he said in this entire post was that. Galaxy Brain. Because it ain't, is it? Right. So, Chris Roberts has made a bold claim about next year's single-player spin-off, comparing it to the launch of BMF Grand Theft Auto 6. Basically, this whole thing is them saying, you know, they say it's $1 billion. Well, that's not $1 billion. That says 859 million, because obviously it was a few days ago. Right? So, first off, that's bollocks. Right? And what they basically said here was no release window for 1.0. What a shock. Squadron 42, meanwhile, launches at some point in 2026. If it makes that release window, it will come out an incredible 14 years after CIG first launched the crowdfunding. Chris has said there will be 30 to 40 hours of a Squadron 42 gameplay. Blah, blah, blah. Now, in a French language report by La Presse, that's really loud. Why is that so loud? Go away. Now, in a French language report, focusing on Cloud Imperium Games Montreal, which is what Turbulent have been renamed to. So, Turbulent is now Cloud Imperium Games Montreal. Roberts compared the release of Squadron 42 to the release of GTA 6. What he said was, we're hoping for it to almost be as big an event. Other than GTA 6, it's probably the biggest budget AAA game. And I don't think that's a shock to anyone, is it? They keep banging on about, like, how much money it's raised and how ridiculous it is. In the same report, Roberts was said to have confirmed he's raised just over $1 billion for Star Citizen from players. Well, I'm not entirely sure where that came from, because funding tracker and stuff like this, but we'll have a look. They say here, Squadron 42 will launch at a point in 2026 where it won't be overshadowed by GTA 6. Now, for those that haven't seen it, GTA 6 has been punted back till Q3 2026. So it ain't in Q3. It's either going to be right at the end of the year for Christmas launch, or it's going to be pre. So yeah, very interesting. I think the $1 billion came from an interview with a Canadian publication, so over $1 billion Canadian dollars. Yeah, potentially. I don't own a Perseus, but I can help. Crew owns a Stimpak? Absolutely. It's $1 billion Canadian. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Although, it's IGN. It's IGN Canadian? Anyway, fine. So, as for Star Citizen itself, the report reveals it's now set for a full release sometimes in 2027 or 2028. Or, as Chris puts it, 1 or 2 years after the release of Squadron 42. Now, here's the interesting thing. Here's what they're referencing. It's been auto-translated, but this is La Presse. This is what they were talking about. This has been turned into, so this is the Canadian website. This has been translated into English. There's nothing in here about any of what they've said. Nothing in here about any of what they've said. Whose official launch, Star Citizen 1.0, is now promised for 2027 or 2028. Without a source. It doesn't say where that's come from. They've just decided. There's no quote for that. What at all? CIG Montreal will work on refining the online game. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because you guys probably can't see that, right? Which has been available in a pre-official version since 2017, but whose official launch, Star Citizen 1.0, is now promised for 2027 or 2028. Has anyone found a source for this? The name Turbulent was more associated with their technology solutions than with video games. To attract specialised staff, our video game group will now be called CIG Montreal. They're looking to increase its workforce to 150 employees. Its ambition is to become one of the largest studios. Very, very cool. Star Citizen is a fully crowded funded. We all know this, right? Chris Roberts, co-founder and CEO of CIG, says he's raised just over 1 billion. Some of whom are growing impatient and eager to see them. Some of whom. Give me some react. Give me something like a yes, me, whatever. If you're a little bit impatient for the release of Star Citizen and Squadron 42, let it be known, or shut up about it. So yeah, all the players who fund us expect the best game period. We don't have to streamline, cut jobs, change our business model. Yeah, me. Yes, says Stimpack. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. On the way to the final version of Star Citizen, CIG Montreal plans to launch the single player. So that's interesting. Does that mean then the launch event will be in Canada? Possibly. That's an interesting. CIG Montreal plans to launch the single player game Squadron 42 next year. Which would be weird because the majority of people working it are here. But yes. I am mildly frustrated with the slight delay, says Notorious. The king of understatement there, mate. So yeah. Several new features introduced by Squadron 42 will then be used to enhance Star Citizen. And then it says exactly, almost word for word, was quoted word for word in IGN's. We're hoping it will be almost as big an event. Other than GTA 6, it's probably the biggest budget AAA game. That's the comparison to Grand Theft Auto 6. Right? Not that it's going to perform anywhere near as Grand Theft Auto. And if anyone's got that idea in their head, please disabuse yourself of that now. Grand Theft Auto 5 was the single fastest selling entertainment product in any medium anywhere on the planet. And that includes movies, music. Grand Theft Auto 5 is top dog. So it ain't going to do that. Full stop, the end. But here's what's really interesting. Star Citizen already has over 1 million returning players every month. Suck it, Battlefield 6. In total, at least 25 million people have played it at least once. Don't know where they're getting that from. There aren't 25 million accounts, are there? But there you go. Pretty sure GTA 6 will be much longer than a 30-hour game. A 30-hour game too, 100%, and that's before you start doing the online stuff. So this should help CIG successfully market Squadron 42, as many of these players are eagerly awaiting the new title. It's Top Gun meets Star Wars, says Chris Roberts. I mean, I'm sold off the back of that. Woo! Yeah, Free Fly still need an account though, don't they? I thought you still need an account for a Free Fly. So it's citizen accounts, not game accounts, right? I thought it was Star Citizens, not. I don't know. Throughout the action, players will be yeah. And then there's nothing in here about where this release thing came from. This line. Don't know. I don't know where that came from. There's no source for this, right? And I've looked at the Cloud Imperium Games website. There's no press release from their side. So there's no evidence of any of this. There's just some random article without any source about this is what's going on. Yeah, it's just journalists being journalists, Notorious. Exactly that. But the problem is then, of course, IGN picks it up, and you've got all the people online. Now, if Chris did say that, I really wish he didn't. If he did say it, he's got to stop doing stuff like that. Chris, you listening? Stop it. Get some help, right? Because we all know, right? I can guarantee it's not going to be 2027 or 2028. It could be 2077, as I originally said. It's not going to be 2027. It's not going to be 2028. And I'll tell you how I know. Take all the gameplay loops that we don't have, add them up, right? We're almost at the end of 2025 now. So divide it by 2. That's how many gameplay loops they'd have to release a year. And I guarantee it's something like you're looking at 13 or 14 gameplay loops a year. That's never happened. We've had 3, I think, is the highest number of gameplay loops, and all at tier 0. 14 in a year. In the nicest possible way. Go fuck yourself. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. People need to stop making this stuff up. I don't understand. I guess they kind of see Star Citizen like this self-opening pinata, right? And what they want to do is just my articles haven't had a view. I'll just rage bait the Star Citizens, and of course, like a mug, I'm sat here taking the bait. But yeah, so if it's this side of 2030 socially, I will eat something that I shouldn't, right? I will, because it just ain't, right? I'm sorry. And if it does come before that, it will be massively feature light, and it won't include all the gameplay loops that we saw on that really cool Road to 1.0 slide at the last CitizenCon. It won't have it. It just can't. They can't get that stuff out. Even tier 2 bounty hunting is a complete meme. Yeah, there's a thin line between showmanship and being delusional. It's just stop doing that. Like, they've said so many times to us. Like, I could just imagine they're asking that, and Jared's in the background at the top of his lungs going, "It'll be ready when it's ready!" Like, just that. As long as it improves and we start to get the story that we're beginning to see in things like the ASD and the kind of regen crisis line, if that's what we're after, if that's what the storyline's going to be, I mean, to be fair, the whole fight for Pyro thing has completely fizzled out. That's died. I mean, let's face it, the only reason Stormbreaker was in Pyro was to throw it a bone, right? Everything else has been in Stanton. And it's all been about Regen Crisis for the last couple of patches. So the whole fight for Pyro thing, the whole, that died a death very, very quickly. That's IGN, it's marketing company, not journalist work. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I added a sound effect. I don't know if that came through because I have my mute thing on, or the noise reductor. But yes, CIG want to release 1.0 ASAP, even before all loops, as many countries can get refunded prior to 1.0 release. Can they? I feel like all that would happen there is you stop selling to those countries, potentially. But yeah, I forget what the main quest line is supposed to be. Yeah, it would be the It came through. I'm glad. You guys probably aren't, but I'm happy. So yeah, the main quest line was supposed to be the Citizens for Prosperity versus the Freedom Fighters versus the Headhunters, combat for the future of the Pyro system, and it's just disappeared completely. And I get it. It's the Dr. Yorick kind of line is very interesting. It's very cool, but yes, yeah. So yeah, we'll see. But that's where that is. Right, I'll just skip over that so I'm not being flashbanged the whole time. But yeah, I like the fight for Pyro stuff. Yeah, it was good fun while it lasted. It just seems to have been completely replaced by the whole regen crisis stuff, and the ASD stuff is a lot of fun. So yeah, I think the new one took over as the medical was going to change. I'm not entirely sure why they've done what they've done, right? But it's not immediately obvious from what they've said. Sorry, I'm just asking you guys another question in a poll, and I really should prepare these questions and just cut and paste them across, so you don't see me typing and staring down and probably, you know, doubling the number of chins that I've got. But whatever. It's fine. You've been here long enough to know that that's how it works. Gore-Tex Fog, welcome in. Hello, buddy. I don't remember the name, so if you're first time here, welcome. If not, then apologies for not remembering you. They called the Freedom Fighters storyline the A story, maybe a misdirect. Yeah, possibly. I also think that there's a very good chance that they kind of just realised as they were writing it all that there was more that they could do with the constraints of the current game with the regen crisis stuff. Hello, says Waybreak. Hello, good evening. We shall dance around the pole. Wait, what? What pole? What? I don't know what we're talking about. Moving swiftly on. Yes. So there's that. It's been interesting. Watching the storylines come together. The idea now that we're going to be able to go down to. I'm gonna have to move something across. There we go, because that's too bright again. I've got a random desktop thing on. It's just Windows, just gives you photos, and some of them are really fascinating. What's been really cool is a couple of the places that have popped up I've been to. I was like, I know that, so that's been cool. Oh, dancing around the right. Okay, that's a different poll. You have me stumped there. Thank you. Now I'm struggling to get my brain back on track. I'm waiting for the full Onyx facility to visit, says Waybreak. Awesome. Well, a little bit later on, depending on how much time we've got, I'm actually at one of the Onyx facilities. I'm parked there, and you log in and log out there. They're a location that you can log in at. So, if anyone wants to see it, I can take you guys down. We can do engineering pretty quickly, and then research. Depending on the health of the server, you can do research if the server's going a little slowly. Research can be very, very painful if the AI are on point. Research can be very, very tough. But we can go and have a look in a little bit. So, most of you have been down. So, there's not a burning need for us to go down and have a look. And I certainly don't want to spoil it for anyone. But we'll see. We'll see where we go. CIG said the regen crisis will end October-ish. So, it was planned from the beginning. Yeah, no. It's not the regen crisis itself that I've got an issue with. It's the fact that there were supposed to be two stories, and the fight for Pyro one just seems to have. We've heard nothing since the Freedom Fighters were outed. Nothing else has happened. That storyline has just gone away, and everything. The last couple of patches, Stormbreaker, which was regen crisis. Then it was Onyx, which is Regen Crisis, and the next one we're going to Yoret's Lab, which is Regen Crisis. It's 3 patches back to back with one story, and nothing about Fight for Pyro. That's the bit that's confusing. So yeah, I cross my fingers for Nix. Rusty, you gotta let it go, man. Yeah, engineering can be tough if you're bad at avoiding the radiation. I feel personally attacked by this. No, I've been doing all right. I've been doing all right recently. Not much of a B story, if no A story. Exactly that. But yes, and the other great thing about going in game is that I kill the camera, so you don't have to look at me anymore, which is also like not a bad thing, right? We're all good on that. I don't like looking at me, so it's let's do that. We'll try that in a little bit. We'll give it a go, and I'll show you some of the cool things we found. I found a new backpack, which I've never seen before, so that was exciting. It's finding anything that I've not seen before in game is always a little bit like, I think a lot of people were not happy with how they handled the Frontier Fighters thing. Are you meaning the ha ha ha, you didn't spot the storyline because none of the bits of the storyline were working? Is that what you mean, right? Because yeah, that knocked a lot of people off. They meant the AB story more like they do plans. They're working on the CD stories soon. Well, yeah. Gonna chase some Vandal and my brand new Perseus. Just can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun when that comes out, and you know, I think I've got a very good naval parallel for the Perseus. Something that it seemed they almost could have modelled it off of, right? And the paint seems to indicate that very, very strongly. But nevertheless, it's a really nice kind of analogy for, or real life example of what they could have based it off. Because Robert said ages ago, I'm going to go find the clip and I'm going to record it so I can hit it like a play button. But he basically said he wanted the combat to work very much like World War II with carriers and fighters and bombers and cruisers, destroyers, the whole shebang, right? He wanted it like that, the combat side of it. I'm in loving Onyx, says Charlie McCawson, but I'm stuck currently. If you play a female avatar on Missile 7, it won't let you extract the data card thing. Really? If you've got a female avatar? I know I've had a lot of problems. The missions have started to degrade, unsurprisingly. So I keep trying to pull data out of various things. And it's like, no, it's already done. You go up to the terminal and it says, cards printed, please remove. But there's nothing to remove, and I haven't activated the terminal, so they just seem to be stuck in like an old loop. But yeah, that is a very weird error. Waybury says, yeah, that bit, meaning the fight for Pyro error, and also how they're openly moving away from the versus grey to it's black and white, and you can't be the bad guy. Yeah, I hope that's not the way they go. I die every time I go to the Onyx Facility's fun, though. Soshi, there's a... Really? Come with us. You'll enjoy it. And you won't die. Or if you do, we'll revive you. But yeah, they should be alright. It's just a couple of tricks you've got to bear in mind. But yeah, we'll go and have a look. Engineering's like a really quick wing to do. It's like 15 minutes. You know, and it's only 15 minutes if you want to do like and go and look at all the loot spots and get yourself some Valakar fangs and that sort of stuff. If you want to go and do the slower stuff, it's even less than that. But we can go and have a look at that in a little bit. That'll be good. Yeah, so that's the kind of news with everything. Obviously, the last thing that we could talk about if you want to, although it's not really my thing, but of course that doesn't mean I can't talk about it, is the Ship Showdown. So yeah, let's have a look, shall we? Of course, I managed to zoom out a little bit. So let's have a look at where we are on the Ship Showdown. There you go. Sound effects. No expense spared. Okay, so the top bar, and it looks like the first of the finalists is the Asgard, having beaten out the Raft, the MTC, the M50, the Razor, the Gladiator, the 85X, and the Ursa Medevac. So that is the winner on that side. On the other side, the Corsair, the Vulture, the Mole, the Prowler Utility, the Prowler Utility, the Talon, the Starlance Attack, have all been beaten out by either the Zeus Mark II, excuse me, or the Polaris, who are at the moment going to head, and you will be unsurprised to learn that the Polaris is miles ahead. Ignore who I voted for. Oh, I must sign in. I thought I had signed in. Well, I'm not doing that with you lot watching. But yes, is anyone able to give us the numbers at the minute on the Polaris Zeus side of things? Basically, the Polaris was almost double the Zeus when I looked. So Zeus was over 2,000, Polaris was over 4,000. It's over 9,000. Of course, we all knew the Polaris would win the whole time, right? Well, funnily enough, CIG don't do themselves any favours, because they wrote this down, right? Act 2 of the Showdown semi-final Odyssey sees RSI siblings turn their outstanding ordnance on each other in a struggle for survival. Heartbreaking? Yes. Entertaining? Hell yes. The Zeus Mark II ES has taken out a previous champion, but can it defeat an all-time legend? Let's hear your battle cry as you vote for your ultimate RSI Polaris. So they've dug themselves a hole by going, the Polaris is going to win. Because now it's like, I've already seen the posts. Is this a conspiracy? Was the Polaris always going to win? It's just like, oh, fuck off. Just, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do think, it is unsurprisingly up against its toughest competition. but fully expecting it to smash through that. Yeah. Oh, closer than I was expecting. Thank you, Waybreak. So 10,000, almost 10,700 for the Polaris and 7,200 for the Zeus. Closer than I was expecting. Nice. So yeah. Of course, we all knew the Polaris would win the whole time, right? Yeah. Honestly, I can't believe the Zeus got as far as it did, said Avi. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going any further. I think, to be honest, what you're seeing here is probably less votes for the actual Zeus and probably more like a Polaris counterculture thing. Although I might be wrong, that people might like the Zeus as much. It is a nice ship, but yeah, low budget boys rise up, says T-Jack. Hello, buddy. Shame, says Charlie. The Star Lancer getting Polaris. Yeah, I wanted the Prowler utility, obviously, because now I have one. Thanks, Del. Well, the Zeus CS is a ship delivered without her gameplay that also does not help. Oh yeah, because she's the ES is the exploration version, isn't she? And it's the Clipper is the cargo, and the Mark is the bounty hunter. Yeah. Quite a few ships in the showdown that shouldn't have been. Both races, the Prowler utility and Zeus, aren't best in show kind of ships. You shut your mouth. The 85X and Gladiator got votes for the CRG meme votes, not real ones. Asgard versus Polaris might be interesting, says Michael Shoemaker. Welcome in, buddy. Asgard had more votes than the Polaris the last round. Interesting. I do feel like the Asgard's been a bit of a shock kind of good ship. I don't think people were expecting it to be as good as it's shown itself to be. Shady Face says, I wish the Gladiator had won. I think it could have won for the meme, and I'd be happy to watch Polaris owners rage. No, that's not a good reason. That's not a good. Will someone please hold Shadow Girl back from attacking Shady Face, please? I've done a U-turn on the Prowler utility from my initial opinion. It's a really good ship. Yeah, should listen to me, mate. Mate, it was a Prowler. I was instantly like, ooh. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. The only problem I have at the minute is the Prowler I currently have, sat in my hangar, has that glitch where the SCU box in it won't detach, which is really annoying. The Gladiator is not even fun as a meme, to be honest. Can't hold a candle to the MPUV. Yeah, look, I like the Gladiator as a combat ship. But then again, I'm weird and don't do very well in combat situations, so that's probably why. Why so serious? You know what pisses me off about the lack of exploration gameplay? All they had to do was let explorers tag and mark resource locations and sell them to player cities after it's authenticated. Boom. Tier 0 exploration right there. Mate, I'm really hoping that is part of exploration. I'm hoping that's what it is. In a way that, you know, if you come to sell a location on a map and you say, hey, there's a javelin wreck here, it's actually a javelin wreck that the game can verify. You're not just taking someone's word for it. That would be really good. But yeah, I kind of saw what they were saying with Hathor and everything else, and Stormbreaker and that being exploration. At the moment, it categorically isn't, right? But later on, when these things don't have markers, and we know this, right? Because when we saw the 2023 Citizen Con, you saw the demo with the star map of them going to update their own personal map from a map terminal in a landing zone. So the idea is you're going to go to a location, and just like if someone came to the city that you live in, they'll be able to tell you all the tourist points and where, you know, the city hall is and maybe the train station and that sort of stuff. But those really cool restaurants and the really nice places to visit that you know about that aren't on the tourist grid, that's the difference between explorers that have been in a system for a while and the maps they create versus the map that you will have when you visit a system for the first time. That makes a sense. So you've got that side. You've got the exploration as in landmarks. Then you've got the exploration you talk about, which is the finding resources and like kind of the industrial exploration, something the Odyssey I think is very, very well suited for. All that sort of stuff. And then you've got the exploration, which is the stumbling on something, you have no idea what it does, and then that drags you through a story, right? So not necessarily just exploration of, oh look, a hill, let's plant a flag at the top of it, but the exploration of what is this? What does it do? Well, there's something here talking about another location, so let's go find that location, and so on and so forth. And that is absolutely what I think Hathor and Stormbreaker and Onyx will become, is you will just randomly happen on these locations. And some of them you'll be like, I don't understand what this is, right? Because you could just as well do Hathor, where instead of having an orbital mining platform, you have a subterranean mining thing, like a mining rig, and it does the same thing, but it's not anywhere near as visible. So the only way you find these sites with no quantum markers and no map markers is you stumble on them, and that's exploration too, right? It's just exploration with 3,000 rounds of ammunition. When you actually have to scan, scout, and map yourself, it's decent exploration, but now it's just 5 FPS loot leave. Exactly that, AV. Mining, salvaging, all of it. That could easily start tier 0 exploration. It's not everything, but it's something. 100%. Unfortunately, it's nowhere near as simple as that, of course, because then it requires a reliable market interface for players to use. Fucking hell, is that a lot of work. Excuse my language, I'm swearing a lot. It's because I've just spent the week with my dad, who's an ex-Matlow as well, and we both go down there not swearing an awful lot, and by the end of it, we're effing and jeffing like proper old sailors, so, which we are. So that's cool. At least we got the Gladiator a skin finally, and maybe CIG will bump it up to priority to bring it up to current standards. Yes, the Gladiator is very cool, and needs some love regardless of what happens with the best in show stuff. Just give it waiting time for verification, says TJack. Kind of like refinement and mining. This would make sure those points are still solid. And this then becomes an integral part of hacking and data running gameplay. Rather than data running just being cargo, except that rather than SCU boxes, you're carrying USB memory sticks, right? You could actually make the data useful, right? And the things like, for example, and I use this example all the time, but I really, really like it, right? Let's say you're on your Odyssey and you're doing your exploration. Close in, let's say up to a couple of 100 kilometers, right? You can pass stuff between mobi-glasses, so you've got that kind of close comm link. So if I find something and I mark it as part of an exploration team, let's say I'm off scouting away from the Odyssey in a vehicle, I find something and I go, here it is, and everyone on the ship finds that thing. But then, to get that back to my org head, to tell the rest of the org about it, I've got two options. You transmit it, which means it can be intercepted, hacking gameplay, or you try and run it securely, data running, right? And then all that happens is they find a marker on a map, and they find out which org owns it. So they've got to come down and scout, but all of a sudden, data running becomes something we don't have in games at the moment. It doesn't exist. Stuff like that. The ability to intercept that sort of stuff. Now, it'll never be in-game voice communications, because you can listen to things you're absolutely not supposed to listen into, right? You could listen into a couple who are playing and talking about stuff that absolutely shouldn't be common knowledge. You could be listening to someone talking about the challenges they're having in life, right? You're never going to listen to real human comms. But there's loads of other stuff in the game that you could do, right? So, when you send that location back and go, hey, we found a really rich Hadnite node over here, we're going to build a base here, it's going to go, it comes up with Hadnite and a location and the org that sent it, and then you find out what the destination is as well, and then you go, okay, well, we're going to send someone down to have a look. That sort of stuff would be really cool. In Hat Zero, hello, buddy. Good to see you. As a 400i fan, I hope the Gladiator fans will help us do a best in show skin one day. Remember, the 400i versus 600i, do you really need 4 best in show skin 600i owners? I get the feeling 600i owners are kind of in it just for the looks. Because let's face it, it doesn't do much else at this point, does it? Sorry, 600i owners. So it might be that that's exactly what they want. But no, I agree. 400i would benefit from a couple of skins too. Can't wait for the Odyssey, says Waybreak. This is exactly the gameplay that falls into that ship's remit. That is 100% where that should be. Sorry, yeah. Certain things just make me giggle, and that's one of them. So, let's go then and have like, ooh, there's a big bear on my screensaver. Look, I'll show you. See? Big bear. Um, so, let's go and have a look at, let's do some of this. I'm going to kill the camera, and then we're going to go across to, is that pretty much, so I'm going to end that poll. There we go. Let's see where we are. So, 70% of the people in chat at the moment, of the people that responded, the 31, have seen Onyx Facilities, 29% have said no. So what I'm probably going to do in a little bit is I'm going to take us down there. But we'll go from there. And then what I'm going to do... I've never done this before. I'm going to start a Q&A for shits and giggles. You know what I've done? What? So somehow I've deleted the chat and it's asked me a question thing. I don't know what I've done. Okay, let's not do that. That was rubbish. Let's come out of that. End Q&A. Confirm. I think the idea there was you were supposed to. So there's that. Ken P, hello, buddy. Hey, I vote 85X, honestly. My go-to PvE light fighter for one I kind of want to paint. Yeah, that ship sailed. It's a bit of a shame, but, you know. I honestly couldn't tell you off the top of my head how many paints the 85X does or does not have. But hopefully there's at least a little bit in there to keep you interested. Maybe? Question mark? None, says Space Saga. Oh, of course not. Oh, isn't that the one with all the racing like logos and the sponsorship and stuff like that? So I just punched the mic again. 0 paints. Well, that sucks. That's not good. Unfortunate. Right. Let's go and have a look. Okie So we're going to pause that one. And done. No, that's the M50. Okay. Comes with the 890 jump. Of course it does. Of course it does. Right. Let's jump across in just a moment once the loading happens, because otherwise my camera's going to start to go slideshow, as we know when I try and do all this at the same time, and it has a bit of a moment. So in a moment we'll go across to the game. M50 is the racer, that's right. Yeah, that's right. The 85X is the little exec transport thing that everyone waits in the hangar for. That takes people one at a time, despite the fact you've got 2 waiting lobbies. So yeah, they're going to be waiting there for quite a while. I would just wait in the bar like a normal person. But yeah. Oops. Okay, so in just a moment when the game boots up, we're going to jump across. Because I'm about to go slideshowy on you. And I don't mean to. So yeah, so the ASD research facility is no longer in operation. No trespassing. You're not the boss of me. So I'm going to put the volume up a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't drown me out too much. Let me know how well it goes, and we'll go from there. Love the 85X, says Charlie. Touring with someone is kind of cool in a side-by-side. Also, a lot of people don't realise the passenger gets the turret on the bottom. Cool ship and needs paint. What are you drinking tonight? Rusty, I'm going crazy tonight. I am on Coke Zero. So, sorry about that. But yes. So, just have a quick wander around the engineering wing. I don't think we'll have time to do research, but having done this a disproportionate amount of times, you'll see quite a quick way to go through this. So we'll go through and see how it goes. Now, hopefully there isn't anyone else here, because I'll get jumped, and then we'll, you know. Here we go. Right. The desktop audio might be quite low, so let's have a look. Let's take side chat out because it's always full of nonsense. But if you cannot respawn in these beds, but if you respawn here, or if you log in here, that's where you spawn in. If you come out of any of the wings, you come out up there. Let's head down towards engineering wing. Is that okay with audio and stuff, or is that too loud? Let me know. It might get a lot louder when I start shooting people. Audio's fine. Good. Overly dramatic death syndrome still. So when you're down here, you kind of get like this stuff, and you can make your various items and whatnot, which is kind of useful. But yeah, basically, I'll just do a quick run through. Stream is quiet overall. Yeah, sorry about that. It's it can't kind of fix that without putting everything up. So there you go. There's an armor box there. You've got normal boxes here. That door's just opened, isn't it? No, we're all good. Your first mission will only take you this far. That's all. That's the only place you need to go to get the data. You'll often get a Valakar jumping out at you there. Like that. And then what always happens is I go up here to collect them. And then as I'm collecting, they kind of just disappear in front of me, which is my cue that they're about to respawn. And then I jump away. Yeah, like that. Yep, see, told you. I don't want to play, I don't want to play, I don't want to play, I don't want to play. I don't want to play. There's more loot here. There's loot down there. Roof. Now they seem a bit more switched on, the AI here. But yeah, if you saw the audio thing where they said they were going to try and give things more weight, so, you know, sound like they've got a bit more weight, they've certainly achieved it here. Tell me this gun is overpowered without telling me this gun is overpowered. Oh. Rude. He's standing on his body. Oh, Jesus, I mean... This is what I mean about the AI being quite forgiving when the servers aren't great. So that works quite well. But, one of your first kind of mission locations is here. It's this... So you're looking for the voice recorder. It doesn't do anything if you don't have the mission. But there's that. There's an armor crate through that door. There's a weapon crate and stuff in here. And then, if this door isn't open into storage, you come through into the toilets and then crouch on your way through. Huge hint for this level, guys, says Charlie, is take armor that handles the rads. That new heavy stuff antium is really high. Yeah, so I've got on a mix of ADP and antium. Yeah, basically I've got this on. So ADP, 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 and then an antium helmet. So that works quite well, but you can just dodge it anyway. This is one way out, so that'll take you back up to the upper level by the med bay that we saw, but we're not going to escape just yet. Mama didn't raise no quitter. So in here, there's first the Volt rifles. It's probably the easiest way to get one. The Volt Zenith snipers, 2 more armor crates, and a big blue crate round here. So yeah, yes, it has. Waybreak, you're correct. The server seems to have held up hold up really well under the weight of the free fly and everything else. So that's been cool. There's Valakar down here. Not that we want to play with them. Yeah, they just get angry at me. And then up here, you get the big Valakar here in the middle. You can just run these bits, they're not too bad. Rude. I don't think it's gonna. And then, yeah, so while you're here, if you want adult Valakar fangs, that guy pops up. But I'm going to leave him alone. Because we're just going to do a quick run, right? Hey, kittens. Yeah, so this is Star Citizen. It's a game currently in development. This is the alpha. It's a bit of very long development. But yes, this is one of the locations that they've just done into the game recently. So welcome in. Thanks for joining. I'm just doing a quick run through one of the wings in the new kind of location. More weapons crates. There's mining crates up there. There's an armor crate on the corner over here.
In pursuit of target.
Thought you were. Just a casual 14 years. Yeah, that. It's been in development for a long time. It's basically the largest crowd-funded project on the planet if you discount cryptocurrencies. So backers are by themselves have raised 460 million. 460, 860 million for this game. Oh yeah, and the adult Valakar really struggle with range, so you can do that quite a lot as well. Right, let's see what we've got in here. I'll just do the big bits of looting and then I don't want an F-55. Oh, Farsight Darkwave? What's that? Is that something I really need to keep hold of? Or is it just a pattern? Anyone know? Some mining stuff in there. And then Caution Valakar down here. Come up just as I get here, yeah. There's one. Two. Three. But if you stay here, you're fine. You don't need to worry about the range. But we can pick up a couple of Valakar fangs while we're here. I have played this game before. Yeah, I'd love to tell you, kittens, that this is absolutely changed and it's so far on from where it is before. I'd love to tell you that, but I'd be lying. No, we've made some progress. Just maybe not as much as we were hoping. This is bad. Yeah, and that's why you don't get caught out here. What? How's he? Oh, have I got? I was going to say, please don't tell me I've got immune NPCs, because that'd be rubbish. Surprise. He's got some cool kit on him. We've still got the overly dramatic death syndrome, haven't we? Someone's going to go, oh, I can see one. Well, I can't see him. So yeah, it's just about when you get to these, it's just about kind of holding your angles and not getting hammered. Right, so there's a lot of stuff in here. So you've got a big armor crate here. You've got all sorts of crates kicking all over the place. There's more mining stuff here if you want it. Weapons crates and stuff. This is the way back up. If I spack the jump coming down here, you'll see. But yeah. I got tired of having to restart everything after each wipe. The good news now, kittens, is that has changed. So the wipes now don't reset all progress and all that sort of stuff. You lose basically your ammunition, your sustenance stuff, but the weapons, armors and things you picked up by and large tend to stay. Ship components, not so much, but everything else seems to be fine. We go. That's just the one run through there, just so you know. The audio here always gets screwy, but you run down, and then if you drop down, there's a little place you go back into the tunnel, climb up where I said you come up, and then you just keep running through. Okay? And then we are into this section. A couple more crates over there if you want them. So you don't lose your ships or money anymore. No, so they will say if persistence is being wiped. So they've not stopped doing it, but it's not every patch. We're also getting one patch every month now, which is smaller and more focused around stability and content, rather than like trying to add loads of new features and stuff. So hopefully it's looking a bit better. Mixie, welcome in. Good to see you. Yeah, so I mean, if I'm looking at mine, I'm up to what on the money? 44 mil, something like that. Although I'm not going to lie, Jamrat gave me most of that. Okay, I'm going to fight my way through here because sometimes it's... Also, the sound gets a little bit disconnected and stuff, so you go more on the visuals. Charlie, you off, mate? Are you? Oh, Rusty's off. Rusty, good to see you. What's up, Minxie? What's going on? But a couple more crates in here. There's a lot to answer on that question, my friend. Right, so let's. So this is EVA. This is like a zero grav chamber. These guys are in radiation suits. And I'm getting shot from above both angles. And now I have a tier 3 chest. Well, wonderful. Okay. Now, this is where the Zenith actually comes in quite handy. Sounded a lot closer. Why did that sound a lot closer? Because it was a lot closer, question mark? Nope, it's because it's behind me. Cheeky. There we go. Okay, so that's why I could hear something close. You can grab these. No, I don't want to swap it. Wait, what's the other gun I've got? Oh, I've got a Democrat for some reason. Oh. Never mind. There are people above me again. How very rude. Casual. That's the bit that's annoying sometimes, is sometimes it tells you you've got a kill, but you haven't. Oh. So I wonder, can I put the... I know I've got the Demico on me. I think I must have not taken it off. So we'll go and grab one of the Zeniths, because they're quite good fun to use as well. But basically, it's kind of a weird gravity environment, so if I wanted to, I could jump off here and then EVA up to one of the other platforms. I'm not going to, but... it's also a nightmare to get these suits off these guys, but let's grab that one. Let's grab as many of these as I dare to grab in the time that I have. Because if I get caught by this, I'm liable to die. Okay, so... The guy's shooting through walls a bit. You can just kind of loop around and go above this area, so you actually kind of fly up and go across the top and hide up there, and that's fairly easy. But, got a cigarette I'm going to do. Yeet. There we go. We'll wait for another jump. Let's clear in the bank. Right, we got any dark roof toast? Oh, it's one of the vault ones. Okay. But then you run and jump, and it all looks very scary, and that's where you go and put the blade in, and all sorts of good stuff like that. Don't do that. I'm just going to risk it for a biscuit. Hands up if that gives you anxiety. Okay, so this is the way out. So we're going to wait for the next break. And then we're just going to belt for it. These kind of like particles are a really good clue that the pulse is about to come as well, because then they disappear. So give it a couple seconds to clear. Hopefully I've done enough to keep their heads down. Help. Open. Open, says me. Thankfully, we're safe in here. Otherwise, I would have been quite toasty after that. It's possible Squadron 42 will be this. Do you know what this is? This is Squadron 42 level design, sound design, ported into Star Citizen. I mean, that just looks like something out of the finale of a single player. And this is a random... There is, Minxie. This is just a random... This is going to be just a random encounter in the game. So yeah, so what you're looking for in this location are these. These are where you get your ASD or the Geist armor chests. So we've got a whiteout one. We've got a couple of weapons crates as well. We'll see what we've got. Whatever that is, Ravager. Yeah, whatever. Let's see what this one's got in it. If I get ASD, that's just going to be cheese, right? Streamer loot. CIG, make it happen. Do it. There is a medjet blade in this place. It's back in the main hall. Yeah, rad zapped. Yeah, it's upsettingly easy to happen in this place, unfortunately. And then there is another one over here. So yeah, Ghost Armor Core Desert. Cool. I'm not going to grab any of those. Unless anyone needs it, I'll grab it for them. Except female avatars. Yeah, sorry mate, I can't help with that. So yeah, lots of fun. So that in a nutshell is the engineering wing. The research wing takes a little bit more effort. Waybreak says, if this is part of an ongoing narrative, then won't this go away, or do you think this is meant to be a permanent fixture? Yeah, so I think these have been introduced as part of the narrative in exactly the same way as Hathor and Stormbreaker, but they'll remain. You can also go straight to research if you want to. But we're going to go back up to the lobby, and I'll show you where this pops out and where you can heal. So yeah, not a bad little mission at all. Obviously back up to the Armistice Zone now. So you pop out up top. So it's worth looking around up here, because in a couple places there are the blue crates. So people have found stuff here, look. Because there's core armor everywhere. What's this then? What core armor have you found? What is that? Geist Armor Core Desert. What else is... I don't think I've got a desert one. I might grab that. Geist Armor Core Forest. So someone's come through and then just ditched everything out here, which is kind of funny. And then, I don't think I've got a desert one. I didn't realise there was a desert one. I might nick that. And then, oh, alright. I'll stand up and go stand. Thanks, Star Citizen. I'll go and stand somewhere normal. Geist Armor Core Whiteout. Okay, so I can pop the whiteout one in. And this was the desert? Desert. And that fits as well. Great success. So, now that we've done that, sometimes there's blue stuff up here. If there's not, then there's one down here, right? It's down here. So just outside medical, where anyone can access it. There's one there. There's also some other random interesting stuff, like there's ingots. It's like silver and gold ingots and stuff. But the medical stuff will work in here for your injuries. It just doesn't work for regen. In future, these will be instants. Yeah, so some of this is going to be instanced into cooperative zones. But yeah. So that's that. And then the beautiful thing about being here is if you go... There's ASOP terminals here. So there's 2 large hangars at each facility. There's loads of facilities scattered out, so not everyone's going to the same one like Stormbreaker, where there's like 1 or 2 locations. There's locations on every moon in Stanton, and multiple of them. You've got multiple vehicles. You can call your vehicles up here, up to large, and then it also has your own inventory storage. So the only thing you've got to be careful about with the inventory storage here is finding your way back to it once you've left the location. But as you can see, my Terrapin Medic is still here. And then you do have the... There you go. That's the last couple of runs. Just random stuff, really. You've got irradiated Valakar Fangs. I picked up some Demeco ammo. That's probably why I had the gun. We've got the Landslide Sniper Rifle. Demeco can go in there as well. Yeah, the desert one I don't think I've seen, but that's cool. Put everything across. There we go. Ready to run again. And then once I'm ready to go from here, I'll put all of this into the Terrapin and I'll leave, and that'll be that. Just kind of cool, right? So that's the research wing. Sorry, the engineering wing. Research wing is bigger, a lot more combat heavy, and quite gnarly in places. There's a couple times where you've got to be really paying attention. The extract also is the big lift that comes up into the centre of the area. That's tough because when you trigger that lift to come down, it comes down very slowly, and then it triggers bad guys to come and get at you. So the problem with mission instances, says Bravo 20, good reference by the way. Appreciate the Bravo 20 reference. Well played, sir. Is that it can take away from the real feeling of things being in the world. Yeah. So nice run, says Kempi. Thanks for sharing. No, you're very, very welcome. And yeah, the irradiated copions. If you're struggling with irradiated copions, climb on something. So I climbed on a crate, and their AI broke so hard they just stop moving and they don't even react when shot. So I climbed on a crate at the bottom of the elevator shaft, and they just stopped, and then I killed them all. That was quite good fun to figure that one out. So yeah, the locations are semi-permanent. Might be some changes to them. Yeah, so there will be changes to the locations. There will not be. I don't imagine they just leave the missions in for a while, right? Why wouldn't you? You know, why wouldn't you leave this stuff in? We tried, so I'm going to quit the. So let's do this one instead. Let's go back to menu. So we tried doing Stormbreaker as an org. DWGP, Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Send us an invite. Just make sure you're in the Discord for us. Links in the description. Because Stormbreaker was awesome. Really had a lot of fun. We got ganked at the end of Stormbreaker, which was unfortunate. Not my favourite moment, but other than that, it was a lot of fun. Solving the puzzles as we went through, getting the right stuff, doing the kind of every time, like at both locations, when you're getting the data to go to the facility in the storm, and then when you're in the storm, there are things you trigger where you get waves of bad guys coming at you. And we had 6 or 7 of us, and it was frantic. It was quite tough. So that was really, really good fun. Hoping to do more Stormbreaker in the future. I just want to do it when it's not an absolute PvP fest. I didn't mind the last one where there's a group of people. I mean, it sucks doing all that work, getting to the end and then getting camped by people who are just like, we'll wait for you to do it and then bring it out, right? But having said that, I did get the special ASD edition of the radiation suit. So it's bright green and makes you look very silly, and all the other kids took the mick out of me when I was wearing it. But even though I was killed in it, of course, because of my armour, they couldn't loot it off me. So whoever killed me... instancing makes things spawn in and out. Now things are in the world and can be found by flying there. Yeah, so that's the instancing will be as you go down the... It'll be like hangars, right? That's how it's going to work. So you'll see a group go into a lift, and they'll go down the lift, and they'll disappear out of sight, and then they'll just be taken off to their own instance in exactly the same way that you have that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it'll be good fun. Except Jamlak. Yeah, Jamlak was oddly aroused by the lime green Sterling suit, but we don't talk about Jamlak because he's weird. Onyx locations could be instanced from the hangar entry. They could, absolutely. I'd like the idea of some of it being more open to players, some of it not. I do think not everything that requires work should be closed off to other players, right? So, for example, the Hathor, as annoying as that is, that's the whole challenge of it, right? Is when the laser goes off. There's the time pressure when you get there of, oh god, oh god, oh god, other players will have seen that, you know, leaving players around, you know, having some sort of extract plan, which isn't park my ships at the mouth of the cave, because they get blown to pieces by everybody. So you need another extract plan, whether it's some pulses or something, you know, like some dragonflies hidden nearby, and then your ship's like 40k out. Whatever it is, that sort of stuff is really great. But I do think there are also things where it's exceptionally PvE heavy, like Stormbreaker, some of that stuff, and I'm not saying Stormbreaker itself, but sometimes when there's a lot of steps to go through, and the only point at which you get the payout really is the end, those sorts of things should be instanced. If there's a point at which I can go through and go, do you know what, I'm going to stop now. I've got enough gear, I've got enough reward from participating in this event, and I've got all this activity, and I've accepted the risk that I could be attacked up till now, but now I can leave, right? Like the red areas in Hathor, that's really good because you can go, okay, I'm going to go into those areas, and that's where we get the Volt rifles and the SMGs. That's where we got the blades. That's where you get all that sort of stuff. The antium armor. That's great. That's perfect because at that point you can go. I don't want to accept the risk of going up to the station and fighting the ships, and I don't want to accept the risk of going to the mining thing and getting ganked by other players. That works superbly. But for something like Stormbreaker, where you are there on site and there's one way in and one way out, that's not it. That's not how that works. And having people being able to instance that stuff works just as well, I think. Exterior locations should not be instanced. I agree with you there. Morning, people. Hello, Sandgroper. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome in. I just don't see a problem at all with instancing some things that are specifically meant to be co-op and PvE. Exactly that. So, not everything with rewards should be instanced. Not everything with rewards should not be instanced. There's got to be a balance, right? And to enable all players. And look, let's come at this from a different angle. Let's not talk about it in terms of what should be instanced, what shouldn't. They talked about PvE sliders, right, and PvP sliders. When they first talked about the game, they talked about you would have a slider on the game, and how far you pushed it up towards PvP would dictate how many other players you saw in the game. Nice idea at the time. I think we're all sitting here going, I have no idea how they implement that. The implementation of that seems like it's pie in the sky, right? That's not going to be a thing. So that's and something like having instance content rather than everything being open world is a nice way to have that, because then you go, hey, I'm going to do some instant stuff today. I'm too tired to be doing the constant threat of PvP. I want to go do some other stuff. There's nothing wrong with having that in the game. But yeah, you can't have safe spaces for PvE that players can't get to. That's magic, not what SC does. I mean, yeah, but in the same way, right, there are areas in the world you just wouldn't go and start a fight, right? In the game, you don't really have that. There's nothing wrong with areas where people go where other people don't. Right, and if you go there, you can go and do your own stuff. You just don't have to worry about the constant threat of other people. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. Yeah, exactly that. Hey, Mackie, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, a little bit later than last time, mate, but you're here anyway, so it's all good. So yeah, personal hangers are basically instances so random players cannot show up. Nobody's unhappy about that. Everything's already a magic and SC. So Sorek. Yeah, all of the above, right? So yeah, it's just those things. It's like they say, you take everything to the point of reality and then you bring it back to fun, as they are very fond of saying. And that sort of stuff absolutely matters, right? In the same way that you need some sort of content that is a lot more immediately available for people who can only log in. Games will suffer massively if you can only log in and achieve something if you dedicate a minimum of, say, 4 hours to it. They're going to need to cater for all sorts of spectrums. So yeah, needs to be balanced between PvE and PvP. Shouldn't learn. I mean, yeah, and this is the thing, right? Is that the other thing is that cooperative zones where there is no combat is still going to be instanced. So it's keeping cooperative players away from each other as well. So the idea is this is something I can come in with my party and not have to worry about other players doing weird stuff. Because as we found out, even in armistice zones, right, trying to load and unload during resource drive, people were using containers to knock people over and kill people. They were driving into people. They were walking into them with Titan suits. They were flying over them. They were using SRVs to steal people's cargo. It's MPUV tractors saw that happen. So yeah, it's been a bit pants. So yeah, it won't necessarily appear or disappear. It will be underground in exactly the same way as hangars are. So the hangar locations themselves are not attached to anything. They become attached when you request entry or exit, and that's why you get the queue, right? Because if you constantly had a door, what are you queuing for? So it's the same thing, right? When you go down the lift, the location's there. It's the same location as other people. You just don't see them and they don't see you, and that works really nice. It's not like they give a prompt that says sorry, but someone's already using this Onyx Facility. Try again later. No, exactly that, and that's the beautiful thing about this server meshing thing is they can just spin you up and spin you off to other locations. Now, at the moment, that's not quite happened, obviously, and that's why cooperative zones are removed, and we're just getting another wing, and it says nothing about being a cooperative zone. It's because what we have at the moment is static. So, you know, if you have a server and it's doing nothing and no one's on it within a shard, it just stays running. Whereas dynamic will be able to spin up on demand. So if you've got one shard and everyone goes to the same Onyx facility, under dynamic, it will just spin up servers and take everyone off to their own locations. Which is the clever part about it, right? Because then loading zone times aren't an issue, that sort of stuff. Yeah, so there's that. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, look, instances are coming, and the only decision people have now is whether or not they're going to continue playing with them coming in. From a PvP perspective, if people are terrified about a couple of activities becoming instanced, I would suggest they're not so much into PvP as they are attacking players who are not expecting it. That's not PvP. That's just, you know, that's player versus. They might as well be AFK at that point, right? If they're in the middle of putting a blade into a machine because they're working at a location and someone shoots them in the back, they might as well have been AFK. They can't do anything. They're locked into an animation. Can't do fuck all about it. But yeah, you'll simply cross a threshold at some point where you enter an instance version. Exactly. Yep. You'll that where that elevator spits you out will be the instance. You're doing exactly the same thing as when you go to a dungeon in World of Warcraft, except instead of the loading screen with the bar across the bottom, you stood in an elevator. You never actually leave the game space. It just spits you out into a new one. That's the beauty of server meshing is no one is going to feel like no one's going to feel like anything is breaking any sort of reality, right? Unless they're there specifically to go gank other players. And in which case, wop wop, loads of places in the game you can do that. You know, one or two spaces being introduced that you can, whatever. So yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's still PvP, but I agree it's not a valid concern for PvPers to have, especially when 99.9% of the rest of the game is open PvP. And this is it, right? We've everything that we've done. We've had Jump Town, we've had Siege of Horizon, we've had Xeno Threat, Fight for Pyro, the whole shebang, right? Everything has had a PvP slant, even if it's not necessarily PvP, like Xeno Threat. People have just rocked up and then attacked other players. So there's been PvP for absolutely everything. There's been pushback by some players saying they don't want it, and that's this is the space being created for them. Nothing's being taken away from anyone. The key thing here is that not everything is catering to a specific group of players anymore, and there's no bad thing with that. Yeah, so that's where we are this week. Don't know what's coming out. What I did manage to do in week before last, they put out the video, the Ship Showdown video, which was much more a ship Q&A than anything to do with Ship Showdown whatsoever. So what I did was, for a little bit of fun, is I just captured the one or two sentences they said that had all the key information in it. And then what I did was so people could listen to it and not watch what's going on. So let's say you're walking somewhere, or you're driving, you're cooking, whatever it is that you're doing. I ask the questions to give people the context. So I asked the question that put their answers into context, and then I put all that together. It was still quite a long episode. I think it was about 22 minutes. I've called it Flash Traffic, right? Which is flash is something that happens fast, or something that's very important and very immediate in the Navy. So I'm going to hopefully continue to do that with new videos and stuff. And, you know, if I can't see a way to put a Star Citizen live into that, if it's something about, I don't know, people's, you know, if it's like one of the, like, clothing ones, I might not do it. If it's one about hairstyles, I probably won't. But I'll try and do that. So if we get anything next week, I'll try and put something out like that, and that'll be good fun. So yeah. Makes sense, it's all additive. Yeah, exactly that. So, that's where we are. It's around about the time of the end of the stream now. So I will say to everyone, thank you ever so much for stopping by. Good to see you all. Really good to be back streaming after a little bit of time off. And we will, I am sure, pick it up again next week. Meantime, if you want to come in, hang out in Discord and stuff, please do. Links in the description. Come find the org, DWGP, Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Sling us an invite. Just make sure you include your Discord name, otherwise it will get rejected. Because obviously, org members, we want them in Discord. So yeah, looking forward to that. And thank you very much to everyone for being here. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.